I'd like to invite Kelsey Ellis, Senior Program Analyst with the Ministry of Agriculture Programs Branch, to come forward. Kelsey is going to give an update on agricultural programming available through the Ministry of Agriculture. A little bit about Kelsey. She grew up in Assiniboia before moving to Saskatoon to earn her degree in environmental science from the University of Saskatchewan. She has worked for the Ministry of Agriculture for the past 10 years in several different roles, including as an agrologist, a policy analyst, and most recently, Senior Program Analyst for Programs Branch. Please give Kelsey a warm welcome. She is sponsored by the Saskatchewan Ministry of Ag. Kelsey.
All right, hello everyone. So as she mentioned, my name is Kelsey Ellis and I am a Senior Program Analyst with the Programs Branch at the Saskatchewan Ministry of Agriculture. So for those of you who might not be as familiar, Programs Branch is responsible for designing and delivering all of our sustainable Canadian agricultural programming, including our flagship programs like the Farm and Ranch Water Infrastructure Program. So in my role as a Senior Program Analyst, I primarily work in collaboration with our delivery unit and a lot of our technical specialists throughout the ministry on designing, monitoring, and evaluating those programs. So today I'm going to go over some of the programs that we have available to livestock producers in particular, and then talk a little bit about how you can access that programming. All right, so I'll start by going over two of our most popular producer programs, so the Farm and Ranch Water Infrastructure Program and the Resilient Agricultural Landscapes Program. And then I'll talk about some of the extension services that we have available to you and how you can access those services. And then hopefully at the end we'll have some time for some Q&As. So just as a reminder, the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership is a 5-year funding framework that is cost shared with the federal government. So we rolled out this new suite of programs in April of 2023, and we're a little over a year into the framework, and the framework will expire in March of 2028. So these are all of the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Programs that we offer, and then you can see we've seen the strongest uptake so far under the Farm and Ranch Water Infrastructure Program and the Resilient Agricultural Landscapes Program. So those two I've got circled there. As I mentioned, I'm going to focus on those, but I'd be happy to take any questions on any of the other programs at the end. So getting into it with the Farm and Ranch Water Infrastructure Program, or FRWIP. This is our most popular producer program, as I'm sure many of you are aware. And it provides funding for developing secure and sustainable agricultural water sources, helping with mitigating the impact of drought, improving public safety, and reducing potential groundwater contamination through well decommissioning. So we had a few changes to our FRWIP program as we transitioned from CAP to sustainable CAP. So we did increase the overall funding cap from $50,000 to $75,000 for the dugout, pipeline, and well stream. And then we expanded eligibility to include power infrastructure, so you can access up to $20,000 for power. And then we actually added small dams as eligible projects under a pre-approval stream. So that's really just to provide sort of an additional option for developing water sources on your land. And then we also increased the maximum rebate amount for water storage tanks from $2,500 to $5,000. So this is kind of a snapshot of everything that we offer under FRWIP, and I know it's kind of a busy slide, but I'll try to walk through each of these streams. So our most used stream there is the dugout, pipeline, and well stream in the first column. So projects under this stream are primarily used for livestock watering, but intensive horticulture and crop spraying projects are also eligible. It is a rebate stream with a 50% cost share, and there's up to $75,000 available per applicant, as I mentioned. Some of the types of projects that we fund, or I guess expenses, are engineering and consulting, construction, equipment, infrastructure, and then in-kind labor and equipment. Our small dam stream in the next column there has many of the same requirements and criteria as the dugout, pipeline, and well stream. The $75,000 cap also does apply to that stream, so you would be subject to one stream or one cap under both streams. And again, many of the same expenses are eligible under that stream as well. And then we also have our well decommissioning stream, which is primarily for public safety improvements and reducing groundwater contamination. And eligible applicants for that one include producers, RMs, Crown Land Pasture Grazing Associations, and First Nations bands. It is a rebate, and we offer a 90% cost share on that one, up to $10,000 per project. Eligible expenses include excavation, gravel or clay, bentonite or chlorine, in-kind labor, and in-kind machinery use. And then lastly, we've got our water development stream, which is for community water development projects like tank loads or connection to non-potable rural water utilities. So under that one, it is a pre-approval. RMs, producers, Crown Land Pasture Grazing Associations, and First Nations bands, again, are eligible. You can access a 50% cost share up to $150,000 per project. And again, eligible expenses include engineering or consulting work, permitting fees, construction, pumps and pipeline, storage tanks, watering appliances, power, in-kind labor, and equipment. So that's kind of a quick summary of FIRWIP, and next we'll turn our attention to our Resilient Agricultural Landscapes Program, or RALP as we call it. So this is our umbrella program under which we offer our beneficial management practices. Some of them might sound pretty familiar to you because we did offer quite a few of these BMPs under the previous funding framework as well. But the purpose of RALP is to really assist you with resiliency on your land and help you to achieve outcomes related to water quality, soil health, and biodiversity. So just to kind of get back to basics here, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this, but for those of you who might be less familiar, we'll just go over what is a BMP. So a beneficial management practice, or BMP, can be any practice that can ensure the long-term health and sustainability of land-related resources used for agricultural production. It positively impacts the long-term economic and environmental viability of an operation, and it minimizes negative impacts to the environment. So this is a snapshot of everything that we offer under RALP. We do have quite a few BMPs that we offer, but they sort of fall into three categories. So the first category there is land use BMPs, and then we have our grazing management BMPs and our livestock stewardship BMPs. So a lot of our BMPs are actually catered towards livestock producers. And I'll just briefly go through each of them. So I'll start with the land use BMP category. So under that one, we've got our seeding forage BMP and our targeted grazing BMP. For seeding tame forage, we cover 50% of eligible costs for seed and establishment. And then for seeding native forage, we cover 90% of eligible costs. I'm going to talk about this one a little bit more in our next few slides. And then going on to our targeted grazing BMP, we cover 50% of costs associated with either you can contract a small ruminant grazer for weed control, or you can actually graze your own animals yourself, and we'll pay you a flat rate of $30 per acre for that. And the cap for that one is $50,000 per year. And then next we have our grazing management BMPs. So the first one you can see there is the Range Health Assessment BMP, and that is a brand new BMP under Sustainable CAP. And this one will provide funding to hire a private agrologist to develop a rangeland health assessment and grazing management plan for you on your land. For that one, we'll cover 50% of costs up to $10,000. And then we have our grazing management BMP. So we have a native stream and a riparian stream under that one. And really it provides funding for cross fencing, as well as solar powered livestock watering systems for the riparian stream. For that one, the cost share is 60% of eligible costs, and the funding cap is $20,000 per stream. And then the last kind of group we have there are our livestock stewardship BMPs. The first BMP you see there is the Intensive Livestock Management BMP. So this would mostly be for producers that are working or are compliant under the Agricultural Operations Act. And it covers costs related to relocation of livestock confinement facilities, manure storage enhancements, and runoff control. The cost share on that one is 70% to a maximum of $200,000. The next one we have there is another brand new BMP we've seen quite a bit of interest in, and it's our extensive winter feeding BMP. So this one will cover costs related to relocating or purchasing infrastructure for moving from maybe a more intensive wintering site to an extensive winter feeding site. So we'll pay 60% of eligible costs up to $50,000 for that one. And I'm gonna go over that one in a bit more detail in the next few slides as well. And then we've got our livestock water protection BMP. That one offers funding for runoff control works on new or existing livestock confinement, winter feeding, or sorting and handling sites. And it'll cover 90% of eligible costs up to $20,000. And then the last one we've got there is another new BMP. It is our sulfate water treatment BMP, which is used to fund water treatment technologies for your livestock water sources that might be high in sulfates. So it's a 50% cost share for the technologies themselves, and then a 75% cost share if you require a holding pond to dispose of the wastewater that might be created in that process. And then the maximum rebate for that one is $20,000. Okay, so I'm going to go into the seeding forage BMP in a bit more detail. We have seen a ton of interest in this one over the last year. So this BMP might be of interest to you if you are looking to decrease your risk of crop disease, reduce soil erosion on your land, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, or reduce fertilizer use. And it can help you achieve improved soil health, improved drought resilience on your operation, carbon sequestration, and biodiversity outcomes. One thing to keep in mind with this one is that the land does have to have been in annual crops for the previous 2 years. So just something to keep in mind there. All right, and then as I mentioned, we've actually got 2 streams to this seeding forage BMP. We've got the tame stream and then the native stream. And of course, a 50% cost share on tame and 90% on native for the increased public benefit that comes along with that, and then the increased costs as well. For tame, we do have a $25 per acre establishment payment and a $35 per acre maximum seed payment. And for native, there's a $45 per acre establishment payment and a $400 per acre maximum seed payment. We also do offer incentives for adding pollinator seed species to your blends. So for tame, we'll give you $10 per acre per species for up to 5 species. And then for native, we'll actually give you $50 per acre per species for up to 4 pollinator species. The funding cap for tame is $60,000 and the funding cap for native is $30,000. Part of the reason for the higher funding cap on tame is because we actually have a new land use agreement component for that one. So with that, you can actually opt into a 5-year agreement for maintaining the tame forage, and we'll give you $20 per acre per year or $100 per acre total for that 5-year agreement. We make the full land use agreement payment along with your initial seed and establishment payment. And really what the land use agreement is meant to do is to provide you with some compensation for kind of the opportunity cost of not growing annual crops on those lands. And it can also assist you with dealing with any establishment issues that might come up with seeding your forage stand. Another thing to keep in mind with this one is just that you do need approval from the landowner if your land is leased or rented. All right, now I'll talk a bit about our extensive wintering site management, which has also been quite popular over this last year. This, again, is a new BMP that we're offering under Sustainable CAP. And really, what you're trying to do with this one is leave excess nutrients or organic matter from food waste and manure on the land, and then the crop that's grown in the following year can use those nutrients in the spring. And what usually comes with that is a decrease in production costs while limiting environmental impacts. So some of those production costs can include fuel, infrastructure, and labor, as well as input costs such as synthetic fertilizer or seed. And then what you're also doing when you do this is providing environmental benefits such as minimizing greenhouse gas production, adding nutrients back into the soil, and protecting water quality. So essentially what's good for you economically is also good for the environment. So this slide just kind of goes over what's eligible for extensive wintering site management in more detail. So as I mentioned, it is a 60% cost share up to $50,000. Some of the costs you can get funding for include portable windbreaks, fencing, water infrastructure, power installation for watering, construction or replacement of loadout facilities, cost of decommissioning and restoring your old wintering site, engineering plans, trees, and then grass seed also for restoring your old site. So if any of these programs sound like they are interesting to you, I would highly recommend you reach out to one of the specialists in our 10 regional offices. So if you're interested in RELP, you'd likely be dealing with an agro-environmental specialist, and for FERWIP, you'll likely be referred to an agriculture program specialist. I've also got the number here for the Ag Knowledge Center, and if you call that, they can direct you to the appropriate person for your region and the program you're interested in. We also do have full program details available on our website at saskatchewan.ca/SCAP. The QR code will take you to our website. The landing page also has a bunch of additional details on the eligibility and different activities that are eligible, so I'd recommend you check that out. And I'd also just wanted to flag, there are a few agriculture program specialists at our booth there in the back, so if anything did sound interesting to you, I would definitely recommend you stop by and have a chat with them. And now I'll just open it up to any questions. Right? Oh, I think I see.
Aye. On the landowner rent, or whichever, who would be eligible? Would it be the owner or whoever paid for the seed, or what?
For the land use agreement option, are you
Yes.
thinking? So it would be whoever is farming the land. So if you're renting, you would be eligible. You would just have to get the landowner to kind of sign off on the project. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. I mean, if the landowner owns it, or what do you, no, then they're not eligible. Is that true? Or even if they paid have a crop share agreement or something, or?
Yeah, so we would probably deal with the renter, but
Okay.
that doesn't mean, like, you would be free to work out some sort of agreement with your renter on potentially sharing that if that's how you have if that's how your agreement is structured.
Yeah, there's nothing, I just caught my eye, nothing's
Yeah.
happening, but.
We don't have anything specific for like crop sharing agreements, but yeah, that's
Okay.
interesting, something to think about.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have two quick questions. One is for the native seeding, does it have to have been cropped previously, or can it have sat idle?
Oh, I believe it needs to have been cropped previously for that.
For native as well? It doesn't say that on the BMP sheet, so that's
Actually,
why I was
yeah, I
asking.
think you're right. I don't think it needs to have been cropped previously.
Okay. So
yeah.
if it's idle land, they want to seed back to native,
Yeah,
that would potentially be applicable.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, and what are your pollinator species?
Oh, you would have to reach out to one of the agro-environmental specialists. They have, I believe, a set list, so they would be able to talk you through that. I think there are a few around here, yes. There's Alana over there. But yeah, they would be able to help out with that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.